Across India, I am Tanvi Taneja. Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Global. We'll bring you the day's big stories from across India and the world. Joining me shortly from Washington, D.C. will be my colleague Caroline Malone. Up first, let's take a look at the headlines. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi discusses the Houthi threat to shipping with Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu. France and the UK too warn of deteriorating security scenario in the Red Sea. Drone attack in Moscow thwarted. Airports restrict flights. Russian defense minister says Russia has laid 7,000 kilometers of mines along 2,000 kilometer front line in Ukraine.
Proportionate to external threats, the amount of armed forces will be boosted to 1.5 million servicemen in the future.
Russian Prime Minister PM Mishustin meets his Chinese counterpart Li Qiang in Beijing as part of his two-day visit. The two leaders discuss expanding energy cooperation. Extensive damage seen on streets and homes in China's northwest after a 6.2 magnitude earthquake kills 118 people and injuring hundreds. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu a short while ago. In a tweet, Prime Minister Modi informed, and I quote him here, had a productive exchange of views with PM Netanyahu on the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict, including shared concerns on the safety of maritime traffic. Highlighted India's consistent stand in favor of early restoration of peace and stability in the region and continued humanitarian assistance for the affected. Unquote. The Israeli army on Tuesday released footage of the IDF targeting Hamas militants in Gaza. The video also showed what the army said was a clinic in Gaza's Shejaya neighborhood, where they said they discovered a shrapnel shell explosive. Last week, military officials described Shejaya as an area of intense combat in northern Gaza, where Hamas militants operated in civilian attire and used deception tactics. Thousands of Hamas militants based in tunnel networks are waging guerrilla-style war against Israeli forces. Israel's commercial capital, Tel Aviv, was attacked by Hamas on Tuesday as it launched a salvo of rockets. Emergency sirens were heard across the city and people could be seen running along the streets to take cover, while some were evacuated from the buildings, though no casualties were reported. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, who is in Bahrain visiting the U.S. Navy's headquarters, has announced the creation of a multinational operation to safeguard commerce in the Red Sea. The participating countries include the United Kingdom, Bahrain, Canada, France, Italy, the Netherlands, Norway, Seychelles, and Spain.
All countries have the right to move freely and lawfully in international waters. But that foundational global right is under new threat today from the totally unacceptable attacks on merchant vessels by the Houthis in Yemen. So this morning, we've launched Operation Prosperity Guardian. That operation is bringing together more than a dozen countries from around the world to conduct joint patrols in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden.
U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin met the King of Bahrain, Hamad bin Isa Al Khalif, during his visit to the country. The meeting comes as the Israel-Hamas conflict has spread to the Red Sea, where Yemen-backed Houthi group has been attacking vessels with missiles and drones. Earlier, Lloyd Austin also announced the creation of a multinational naval operation, Operation Prosperity Guardian, that is, to protect commerce in the area. Meanwhile, the French Foreign Minister Catherine Colonna has asserted to take action against the Houthi rebel attacks in the Red Sea. The French Foreign Minister said her country will take appropriate measures along with partners to put an end to Houthi attacks in the Red Sea. Colonna met her British counterpart David Cameron in Paris for a wide range of discussions.
The Houthis, to name them, we know that they are often supported by Iran, have fired missiles, launched drones and seized vessels over the past few weeks. This must stop. You have seen that we have decided to strengthen our cooperation to fight against the terrorist threat in this area. Actions will be taken in coordination with our allies. This is in line with what the President of the Republic had expressed several days ago. We must strengthen our operational capabilities in the area to put an end to these attacks.
Further, the United Kingdom also warned that the security situation in the Red Sea was deteriorating, as it confirmed in a statement on Tuesday. Britain said that the ballistic missile and drone attacks were an increased threat, as it agreed for a Royal Navy destroyer, the HMS Diamond, to join a US-led operation to safeguard commerce in the region. Further east in Asia, South Korea, Japan and the United States have activated a real-time data sharing system for North Korean missile warnings as the three countries seek to bolster security cooperation against the nuclear-armed North. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol, in a statement, warned Pyongyang against its provocation on Tuesday following North Korea's launch of intercontinental ballistic missiles.
The North Korean regime will come to realize such provocations will only bring greater pain to itself. And regarding North Korea's missiles launched this time, the smooth operation of the information sharing systems has been confirmed. With a recent meeting of the South Korea-US Nuclear Consultative Group held in Washington last week, the establishment of a comprehensive extended deterrence regime between the US and South Korea is imminent. It signifies the substantive realization of a robust nuclear-based alliance between the two countries.
On to the other conflict that has been raging in Europe since the start of 2022. Russia plans to increase its defense sector production and boost its armed forces up to 1.5 million servicemen. Further, President Putin feels that Russia's defense industry had reacted to the conflict in Ukraine faster than that of the West. My colleague Caroline Malone is in Washington, D.C. She gives us more on this and other stories making headlines around the world. Caroline, it's over to you now.
Well, the Russian Defense Minister, Sergei Shoigu, has said that Russia has increased its tank production by 5.6 times since the start of what it calls a special military operation in Ukraine. Shoigu has said that Moscow planned to boost armed forces to 1.5 million servicemen. He's also added that Russia had laid 7,000 square kilometers of minefields along the 2,000-kilometer front line in Ukraine.
Since February 2022, meaning the start of a special military operation, tank production has increased by 5.6 times, infantry fighting vehicles by 3.6 times. Large-scale goals on fortification equipments on line of defense are accomplished. Along front line that is more than 2,000 kilometers has been laid 7,000 kilometers of mines.
DD India's Dasha Chernashova reports from Moscow. Well, Russian air defences have downed a hostile drone near the capital city of Moscow on Tuesday. Moscow's Mayor Sergei Sobyanin confirmed there were no casualties. Two airports have restricted their flight activities as a measure often taken during drone attacks. Well, the Russian President Vladimir Putin has said that the West is waging a hybrid war against Russia. Targeting the West, he also said that attempts to inflict a strategic military defense on Russia has failed.
Events of current year confirmed, and we all have observed it. The West continues to wage the hybrid war against Russia by sending military advisors, hand over the modern weaponry systems. We do whatever we consider right, whatever we want to do. We are not going to give up the goals of our special military operation.
Well, the Russian Prime Minister Mikhail
Events of
Mishustin
current
is in
year
China.
confirmed, and we
Mishustin
all-
met the Chinese Premier Li Qiang in Beijing as part of his two-day visit. Mishustin is also expected to meet President Xi Jinping. The visit is significant as Beijing is keen to expand energy cooperation with Russia on all stages of production, while both nations have also signed a deal to cooperate on business and trade. Well, Russia has summoned Finland's ambassador on Tuesday to express concern about a new defense agreement between Helsinki and Washington. Russian officials informed the ambassador that Moscow would take necessary measures to counter the aggressive decisions of Finland and its NATO allies. The measure comes in response to the growing NATO military presence near the Finland-Russia border. Well, Texas Governor Greg Abbott on Monday signed a law allowing state law enforcement to arrest people who are suspected of crossing the US-Mexico border illegally. The move came on International Migration Day and aims to curb illegal migration into the US from Mexico and other countries. The law, known as SB 4, will take effect in March and create a new state crime for illegal entry or re-entry into Texas, with penalties ranging from 180 days in jail to 20 years in prison for those refusing to comply. Well, Justice Arthur Engoron, who is hearing Trump's civil fraud case, wrote that the expert witness who testified at the trial had lost all credibility as he's tried to justify the former US president's business records. The judge wrote this in a scathing denial of Trump's request for the case. The trial has focused mostly on damages, as Engoron ruled that Trump and his adult sons manipulated financial statements to dupe banks and insurers. Trump, who is the leading contender for the Republican presidential nomination, has called the case politically motivated. An earthquake hit northwest China of 6.2 magnitude, according to authorities. It hit around midnight on Tuesday and has killed at least 118 people and injured more than 400 people. Well, several military, police and other working groups are engaged in rescue efforts to try and free trapped residents. Thousands of homes have been damaged. Power and communication lines have been disrupted due to the quake. China's finance ministry has allocated $28 million in natural disaster relief funds.
Now a total of 19 medical rescue teams at provincial, prefecture and county levels have arrived in the region to carry out medical treatment operations, consisting of 386 members and 99 ambulances. The provincial infection prevention and control team has arrived in the affected area and is ready to conduct epidemic prevention work.
A village in northwest China was half buried in mud and silt after the quake that triggered a landslide. It covered homes and trapped residents. Authorities have mobilized many emergency responders to rescue people who remain trapped. A volcano has erupted in southwest Iceland, spewing lava and smoke across a wide area after weeks of intense quake activity there. About 4,000 people were evacuated from the fishing town of Grindavik earlier this month after continuous seismic activity. National police have been put on alert, and the country's civil defense have warned locals to stay away from the area. A huge bushfire continues to burn out of control in northwest Australia. The rising heat from the intense bushfires created massive smoke-infused thunderstorms. The smoke drifted hundreds of kilometres down south, covering an area almost the size of Greater London. Residents nearby have been advised to evacuate immediately. Alphabet's Google has agreed to pay $700 million and modify its Google Play policies to settle allegations of unlawfully dominating the Android mobile applications market. Google will pay $630 million into a settlement fund for consumers and $70 million into a fund to be used by states. This also includes adjustments to Google Play policies aimed at reducing barriers to competition in app distribution and payment processing markets. Well, that's it from me here in Washington. Back to you in the studio, Tanvi.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Caroline Malone joining us from Washington, D.C. You're watching DD India Global, still to come on the show. The International Monetary Fund affirms India's strong economic resilience and growth amid global challenges, praises Indian authorities and central banks' proactive monetary policy actions. And a Spanish police officer dresses up as Spider-Man to cheer up little patients at a Malaga hospital.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Global. I am Tanvi Taneja. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will interact with the finale participants of Smart India Hackathon today via video conferencing. The event aims to crack complex cases and deal with the increased instances of cybersecurity breaches. The hackathon will take place at 48 nodal centers across the country. Smart India Hackathon is a nationwide initiative to provide students a platform to solve the pressing problems of ministries and departments of the government, industries and other organizations. This year, the grand finale of Smart India Hackathon is being held from 19th to 23rd of December. Over 12,000 participants and more than 2,500 mentors are taking part in the grand finale. And urging all to join the hackathon program and support the youth of the country, Prime Minister Narendra Modi tweeted, and I quote him here, at 9:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time today, I look forward to joining pioneering innovators at the Smart India Hackathon 2023, a much-awaited program. I'm delighted to learn more about the record innovations our youth are making, whose outcomes will significantly enhance India's progress journey. I strongly urge you to join the program and support our Yuva Shakti, that is the power of the youth, wrote the Prime Minister. And as part of democratizing e-commerce on Tuesday, India's ONDC, that's Open Network for Digital Commerce, and Meta announced a partnership to train and scale small-scale entrepreneurs from across the country to give them a platform to bring their products on the e-commerce websites to reach their customers globally. DD India's Dibyendu Mondal spoke to Meta India Director Business Messaging on what this partnership entails.
Meta and ONDC today in New Delhi announced a partnership that perhaps could go a long way. And to talk more on this, I'm joined by Ravi Garg, Director Business Messaging, Meta India. Welcome to Doordarshan, sir. At the outset, I would like to ask you what this partnership entails.
As you know, ONDC is a very critical initiative of Government of India to democratize commerce and help small businesses to commerce across the country. We believe we as Meta can enable a lot of that. What we have announced today is that we'll create and enable tools for small businesses across the country to connect with the ONDC network and sell their products on the ONDC network. We've also announced that we will train and skill 5 lakh small businesses to grow their business via our platforms.
Well, I was, throughout the course of the program, I was hearing that you'll be imparting skill training. What sorts of skill training would you be providing? Have you onboarded any particular entities at this moment? Can you give us some more details about it?
I can't hear.
Yeah. So this is a big initiative that we as Meta have embarked on earlier, where we have committed that we'll enable 10 million small businesses to grow their businesses in India through our partnership with Kate. This is an extension where we are extending this whole initiative to ONDC merchants across the country, where we'll enable them how to use digital platforms, the social media platforms, to grow their business, acquire more customers and service more customers, and sell their products via social media platforms. So that's the skilling initiative that we are taking, and will help merchants really learn the skills of using social media to grow their business.
Well, so also my last question perhaps would be on WhatsApp, because Meta, we were also seeing that this business, ONDC's business model is based on WhatsApp. Will it primarily be only based on WhatsApp, or will it go to other platforms?
This is a cross-Meta partnership where while we are beginning with WhatsApp, we'll definitely also involve Instagram and Facebook as platforms to see how we can enable small merchants to take advantage of the ONDC network.
Well, thank you so much, sir, for giving your time to Doordarshan and talking to us. With camera person Piyush, this is Dibyendu Model for DD India from New Delhi.
And according to a recent International Monetary Fund IMF report, India is projected to contribute more than 16% to global growth and has emerged as one of the star performer globally. DD India's Jessica Taneja spoke with Robin Burgess, economics professor at the London School of Economics, about potential reforms and what's driving India's economic engine towards sustainable growth.
How do you look at India's economic growth in the future? It's going to be the third largest economy. It's projected to become the third largest economy. It's still pacing. And what more do you think India needs to do to have more reforms? It already expressed that there have to be certain multilateral institutions that need reformation, including the United Nations, in order to be able to address the needs of the emerging economy, aka the global south as well. India has taken a stand at that point, but with its economic engines now working in full capacity, what do you think would aid that growth?
I think there's a couple of broad areas. One is this very simple transition from agriculture into services and manufacturing. And that is obviously a source of growth because people become more productive. But I think the bigger factor is once they move out of agriculture into some form of firm, India has been successful in having a huge mass of small firms and then some big firms. And there's going to be a need for sort of some of those small firms to be encouraged to grow to become bigger firms. And that sort of, people talk about infrastructure, they talk about regulation, but that sort of, I guess, encouragement of entrepreneurship is going to be a big factor.
Next, an update from India's southern region. Heavy rains lashed India's southern state of Tamil Nadu, resulting in waterlogging in several parts of the state. The weather department has predicted heavy to very heavy rainfall over the states of Tamil Nadu and Kerala over the next 2 to 3 days. 3 people have also been killed due to the heavy rainfall. Transport services have been severely impacted, with train, bus and flight services suspended in the region. Meanwhile, the armed forces of India are actively engaged in relief efforts in Tamil Nadu following the unprecedented rainfall in the past 24 hours. Air Force helicopters assisted in relief operations, while Navy teams supported local operations, rescuing over 100 people. Notably, a rescue operation involving the airlifting of 4 passengers, including a pregnant woman and a 1.5-year-old baby, was successfully executed. Further, an Indian naval Dorne aircraft from Chennai has been deployed to transport approximately 400 kgs of relief supplies to Tuticorin Airport. And under India's campaign Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra, several programs were held at 7 places in 4 blocks of Champawat district in Indian state of Uttarakhand. The Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra was organized at Khetikan, Devidhura, Judaili, Raikot Kunwar, Chami and Naya Got. The villagers received information about various welfare programs of the central government. The beneficiaries of various schemes also shared their experiences. Multi-purpose camps were conducted by district administration for on-the-spot solution of the problems faced by people. In Khetikan, people took a pledge to work for making India a developed country by 2047. And now we take a look at other stories making news around the world. As Democratic Republic of Congo is gearing up for its elections on Wednesday, the opposition and independent observers have warned that issues including illegible voter cards, blocked campaign planes and electoral list delayed the legitimacy of the results. The conflict-torn is facing one of the world's biggest humanitarian crises. It is witnessing attacks by armed groups that have left thousands dead and displaced nearly 7 million people. South Korea has reported 8 outbreaks of highly pathogenic H5N6 bird flu on farms, the World Organization for Animal Health said on Tuesday. The outbreaks killed a total of 47 birds and led to the slaughter of the rest of the flocks, totaling 513,810 poultry. Cuban families prepare for a rather toned-down Christmas as the economy continues to suffer. Cuba is nearing collapse with fuel, food and medicine shortages rampant. The crisis has also triggered a record-breaking migration of nearly 500,000 people to the United States. And ahead of the festive season, a Spanish police officer dressed up as Spider-Man visited sick children at a Malaga hospital to cheer them up during the Christmas period. Along with the Olivares Foundation, Eduardo Balboa started this initiative 9 years ago. He was when he was inspired by his father, who also dressed up as Superman to cheer up his sick child. So that was the inspiration behind him dressing up as Spider-Man. That's all in this edition of DD India Global. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter and Instagram at DD India Live. Find us online at ddindia.co.in as well. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Tanvi Taneja. From my entire team in New Delhi, thank you for being with us. Namaskar.